Now that we have our health script added to our car, we are going to create a box collider to detect if we crash into something. So I'm going to make sure my tuned sports car is selected in my hierarchy. Click on the add component the add component button, type in box. So if it's blank, you can just start typing that in. I'm going to choose box collider, and I'm going to set it as a trigger. If I make it a trigger, then it won't be a physical collider, but it will detect if something comes inside it. You can change the size of it. There's a couple ways to do that. You could just change the values. Z is going to be the length of it, Y is the height, and X is the width. You can also click on this little edit collider button, and then you can grab the little points that you will see in there, move around. You want to make it so that it sticks out far enough that if you run into something, it detects it. Once we have that set the way that we want it to be, probably don't need it to be underground. Get that arrow, pick it up about there. And then I'm going to edit my health script. So I double click, that'll open a Visual Studio. And what I'm going to do is make it so that if I crash into something, it will reduce the amount of health that I have. So I need to get references to our health UI elements. So I'm going to type in public, and I want this to be a text value, so I'm going to type in text, but you'll notice that text itself is not a choice. That's because we need the UI library to be added. So I'm going to go up top, type in using Unity Engine. Let's go down to Unity Engine, .ui, hit enter, make sure it's uppercase, and a semicolon. If I go back to my line now, if I type in text, you will see that text is an option, and I'm going to call that health text. I'm also going to create a integer, public int, which is a whole number to hold the amount of health that I have. Call it health, and I'm going to set that to be equal to 100. Oops, 100. So now I want to detect when I've crashed into something or when something entered that trigger collider area. So I'm going to create a method for that. I'm going to type in void, which really means it's not going to return a value. I'm going to type in on trigger. I'm going to go on trigger enter and hit enter. You'll see that it automatically put a parameter in the parentheses, and it gave me my open and close brackets. So what this means is anytime another collider comes inside of the trigger collider we have attached to our car, it's going to give it a reference and it's going to call it other. So I'm going to do a conditional statement because I don't want to detect if I crash into the terrain because I'm always on the terrain. So I'm going to say if other dot game object dot name. So I'm going to get the name of the game object, and I'm going to say if it's not equal to. So an exclamation point equal sign means not equal to. In quotes, I'm going to type in terrain. Go to the very end of the line, hit enter, give myself an open and close bracket, hit enter again. So if I touch something that is not the terrain, then what I want to do is I'm going to reduce the health. So I'm going to say health equals itself, or health, minus 20. So whatever the health is currently, it's going to subtract 20. Then I'm going to say health text, and the text property of that component, dot text, I'm going to set that equal to whatever the value of health is. Now health is an integer and the text field is a string or a text value. So I have to do a function called toString. And again, that's a function or a method. So I need parentheses and then a semicolon. So now I'm going to save that, go back over to Unity, and you'll see in my health script, I now have two values that show up, the health, the integer, and the health text. I'm going to grab that text field that we created for health, and I'm going to grab it down, drag it down to the health text. Then if I hit play, you'll see the health is at 100, and if I drive and I run into the tree, it automatically reduces my health down to 80. So if I go and I crash into another tree, it'll go down to 60.